All right, so welcome back to, we don't have a name for this. I don't know what we're calling this. Fantasy Football Podcast, Working for a Living Podcast, whatever. So this is our second part of the draft. We're going to talk about the NFC today. But before we do that, Tyler, why don't you tell me about what you're enjoying right now?
I am smoking right now a Rocky Patel. It was a little sample pack that I got. I ordered a box. This has been several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, came with a little sample pack. It's just a real small little cigar made by Rocky Patel, who is. It's not my favorite. My favorite cigar is a Padron, but Rocky Patel is what I normally smoke because they're a little cheaper. I could buy for about $3 a cigar. So that's what I'm smoking right now. You?
Nice. I've got a Arturo Fuente. It's a sun ground. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's a Robusto.
Okay.
It's a pretty big cigar. In fact, I've been smoking it for quite a while now. But
Robusto's maybe 5 inches long, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Okay.
It's a pretty nice cigar. I bought it last night. It was about $9. But I'm trying a couple out because I'm thinking about buying a box of about 25 of them, just because it's about that season. So
It is about that season.
yeah.
I will be bringing some to the draft again. If anybody wants to try them out, I actually just ordered last night. I ordered a box of. They're called Rocky Patel Nicaraguan, which is kind of my staple cigar. Like I said, you can buy them for $2 to $3 a cigar, and it's a pretty decent cigar. It's more of a daily smoker. But then I also bought a pack of 5, a Padron. It's called a 7000 series, which, like I said, is my favorite cigar so far anyway. And then I'm actually really anxious to try out. It's called a High Claire Castle is what the cigar's name is. And it's rated by, there's a girl I follow on Twitter named Cigar Vixen. And she did a top 5 cigars of the year for her last year, and it was her number 1 cigar. So I really wanted to try it out. So,
yeah. So I live in Avon, which is a suburb of Indianapolis, and there is a cigar shop pretty close to my house. I want to say it's a couple miles away. And I went in there last night, and it's a cigar bar as well. And so I walked in, and I mean, it was a Friday night. There was probably like 20 people in there smoking cigars. I was like, this is awesome.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, so I think cigars are, I guess they're just more popular than I just knew.
Well, they're so, like, the way I understand is, like, they're kind of making a comeback. They really lost popularity for a long, long time. But they're kind of making a comeback over the last, I don't know, 10 years or so.
Yeah.
I love them. My wife does not understand. She asked me why, and I really can't answer it. I just love them.
So I think part of it is that it gives you something to do when you're outside enjoying nice weather, because that's typically the best time to smoke. I mean, in the winter, don't get me wrong, I get cravings in the winter where I want to smoke them, but it's just not as easy to do. But in the summer, you're outside, you might have a nice drink, enjoying a cigar. I love it.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. And actually, this year is the first year, and you've kind of talked about this before, about how you kind of like mowing because you'll smoke a cigar while you mow.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first year I've started smoking cigars while I mow, and it does make it a lot better. I'll kind of put a podcast on or something, or even just music, and smoke a cigar while I get the yard mowed.
Yeah, it's great. And actually, the way I got the idea was my neighbor, who he moved out, but I saw him out there one day, and he was smoking a cigar mowing. I was like, damn, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
just makes the mowing a little more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that my wife hates about the cigars is the smell really lingers.
Sure.
I think I told you this story once before. What I was trying to get rid of the smell, and so I went online and I Googled it, and I was like, how to get rid of cigar smoke smell, and I went to a couple forums, and one guy was on there. He was like, I don't know why you would want to. He was like, it's amazing. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like it. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, when I come in from just smoking a cigar, my wife will kind of make a comment. She doesn't really love it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it bothers her that much. But she will
No,
kind of say, if I get real close to her, so I'm just, oh man, you smell like smoke.
yeah, and me and my wife went to New Orleans a couple years ago, and obviously it's nice weather down there. So I was just walking around the French Quarter smoking cigars, and she would
Nice.
be like, she would be like, I don't want to walk next to you because it smells so bad. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So maybe I did it on purpose.
Travis and I kind of have a story about walking down the street and him not really wanting to walk next to me. We won't go into that too much here, but he'll know what I'm talking about if he listens to this. Yeah. It was bad. It was bad. But
yeah,
really, we kind of wanted to talk about getting into cigars because we're going to try to do something. I don't know if we talked about this before or not, but we're going to maybe try to do like a podcast each week during the football season and kind of talk about our league and talk about if there was any trades or talk about some of the matchups, maybe stuff like that. Just a quick little thing. And each week we'll try to do like a bet, and it'll be just a cigar bet. And so at the end of the year, whenever I'm up like 10 cigars, then Matt will owe me 10 cigars.
I hope you like.
We didn't talk about sweets. Like is that my choice? Yeah. I don't want no Swisher Sweets.
Well, yeah, it is your choice, but I think we'll have to put a limit on it because I'm not buying you 10 high Leclerc Castles because those are like $16 a cigar.
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
But so talking about the podcast, another thing that we kind of want to do is, we'll talk about like nice waiver wire pickups and, maybe some guys that are emerging or if we can get really good at it, we can talk about like good matchups and stuff like that. Don't want to give you too much of an edge because, obviously we want to win, but
right.
But we don't tend to do that anyway, right? So
that's true. I have yet to win one. So there's that.
So don't be scared because, we probably won't win anyway. But anyway, it's kind of a fun thing. And again, I know I say this every episode, but please, if you want to join us, please do. I just think that would be fun. So
yeah, it'll definitely be fun. During the season, even like I said, we'll try to do one every week or so, and then like if you had a really good week and beat somebody down, and you just want to get on here and rub it in a little bit, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to get our first cigar bet in?
Yeah, let's do it. So I think a fun topic would be maybe Kyler Murray. So, I mean, he's kind of like the hot new guy. He's going to be an exciting player to watch, and I think that it would be a fun bet to have. So, what are the stakes here, or what are the specifics?
Okay, so obviously he's a rushing quarterback. I think both of us expect him to start the whole year, right?
I can't imagine he won't.
I mean, barring injury, of course, but I expect him to be the starter from day one. I expect him to run. So we kind of talked about maybe putting the bet as an over/under on his rushing yards, and we kind of talked about 600.
Yeah,
sound fair?
I've seen some early projections. Some of the early projections put him at 500, but we thought we might bump it up a little bit to make it a little more interesting and a little more palatable for both of us because, obviously one of us has to take each side of it, so we want to both be kind of comfortable with it. So I guess I'll take the over.
Okay. So you'll take the over and I'll take the under. And so if he runs for more than 600 yards, I owe you a cigar, and if he runs for less, you owe me a cigar.
Yeah, and I don't think either of us will be surprised if he does either.
No. Yeah. I could easily see either one.
Yeah. So I think that's a fun bet, and it's something for us both to kind of root for. I don't know that Kyler Murray will be somebody that either of us start. And if we did, it would be consistent. So it's just kind of something that we don't really have a stake in, but can kind of still watch week to week.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
So, okay, cool. Awesome. I love that. So we're going to go through the NFC. Again, we're going to start with wide receivers. Tyler, you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. Yeah, so the first receiver taken in NFC was the 49ers, and they took Deebo Samuel in the second round. He was actually like the fourth pick in the second round, so he went pretty early. I expect this guy to be good. He's not super tall. He's 5'11", but he's kind of bigger. He's 215. Didn't run a super fast 40 for a 4.48, which is, I mean, fast. Don't get me wrong, but he's not one of those 4.3 guys that we kind of talked about.
Right.
So I actually think this is a really good pick for them, and I like this guy a lot. They have Dante Pettis, who I really like. I think that guy's going to be a stud. But I do think them taking Deebo Samuel here, to me, it does kind of say something about Marquise Goodwin. I mean, you remember going into last year, there was like a lot of hype around him.
Yeah. Marcus Goodwin was somebody I was targeting last year. I thought, Marcus Goodwin was a former Olympic sprinter. The dude is super, super fast. I mean, he had some injury problems, and I think he had some off-field stuff going on as well. But he just never really panned out. And I agree completely. I think this is more of a statement on him than Pettis. I think you're right. Pettis is going to kind of emerge this year, or I kind of expect him to. But I think Samuel probably is right under him.
Yeah, I agree. And something just to touch on, he had 11 touchdowns his senior year. And I don't remember where I heard it. But so they talk about what they call them, a sticky stats. And so, like, a guy has, 10 rushing touchdowns or whatever one year. Well, that stat doesn't tend to stick year to year. Rushing yards are a much stickier stat. So it means like, a guy runs for 1,400 yards, he's more likely to rush for that amount of yards than the touchdowns. Does that make any sense? Am I explaining that well?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just more of you expect him to be consistent in that stat rather than kind of a fluky touchdown. Like Tyler Lockett, he's not going to, based on what he did last year, you can't expect him to do that this year.
Right. But the interesting thing is, and I don't remember how long they went back, but they said from college receivers to the NFL, one of the stats that you can actually translate is touchdowns. So guys that score a lot of touchdowns in college, that tends to be one of the stats that kind of forecast their NFL career. So that's something I'm kind of looking at, and I think, like I said, I think this guy will be good. I don't know, how excited I would be to have him in a redraft or anything, but definitely a guy I'll be looking at in a dynasty draft for sure.
Yep. And I think he's kind of considered to be like a pretty physical runner. So he's kind of a yards after the catch guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so he's an exciting guy.
Yeah, he only played 3 games his junior year. He had broke his leg, and so I didn't follow his college career super close, obviously, but like I said, he did have 11 touchdowns his senior year, and 6 of them were in the last 4 games. So it's a guy coming on. I expect him to continue to develop, and like I said, I expect him to have a good NFL career.
Yeah, and honestly, if you think about the 49ers, they're kind of one of those teams that their arrow's pointing up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying they're like the Cleveland Browns, but Jimmy G is going to be back healthy. And so I think Kittle emerged last year, and they have McKinnon coming back. They've got a lot of exciting things going on in the offense. So I think that they should take a step forward this year.
I totally agree. And Shanahan's a good coach. I think it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me to see them be a really good team. They're in a tough divisions. It'd be hard to project them winning the division, but I expect them to be a really good team anyway.
Yeah, and I mean they drafted Nick Bosa. I mean that's definitely going to help. I mean he's the kind of guy that, you don't think about these kind of guys this way, but a guy that comes in and gets a sack on a key third down, I mean, that's an extra possession that you don't think about, but that changes your team. So
Sure.
The next guy is a guy that I like a lot, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He got drafted by Philadelphia, second round, 57th pick. This guy is known for contested catches, so he's kind of the guy that's going to be, really physical, attacking the ball. If you look at his highlight tape, he's constantly doing jumping up for the ball and making those awesome, touchdown grabs. I don't know where he fits in Philadelphia because they do have, they've got several receivers there, and they just signed Deshaun Jackson, so they're kind of crowded, but I think he's an exciting guy to look for in the next couple years.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I don't know if they drafted him to just be a replacement, because one of his biggest comps that I've heard anyway is Alshon Jeffrey. Like, he's a similar type, like big, kind of strong receiver, like you said, that can get those contested catches. It's probably not going to be like a super high volume guy, but he had 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he's definitely a red zone guy. He's going to be a guy that they potentially look at in the red zone. So he could easily get up to the well, I don't want to say easily, but he could be up in the 6-7 touchdown range.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree.
So
next we got
favorite.
This guy's going to be kind of exciting. Andy Isabella, he went to Arizona in the second round, and obviously they're going to pair him up with a rookie quarterback. This guy is just super fast though. He's small. He's 5'9", 188. He ran a 4.3 140.
Fastest,
super fast.
He's the fastest wide receiver 40 at the combine.
Yeah. He's going to be exciting for sure. We followed these guys. They're just called the Fantasy Footballers, and they're from Arizona. So we kind of heard a lot about him just because obviously they're big Cardinals fans, and so they're pretty excited about having him. And I don't blame him, because I think he'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah. So he, I think this was last year, 207 more yards than any other receiver in college. 102 receptions, 1,700 yards in 12 games. That is insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he. So Arizona drafted, I think, 3 wide receivers, and they still have Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. So a lot of receivers there. So it's tough to say how many looks he'll get, but he's going to score a couple touchdowns this year.
Sure.
The next guy, one of my other favorite wide receivers in the draft. This guy was, before the draft, he was considered by a lot of people as the best talent wide receiver in the draft. Partially because he had an awesome combine. So he's 6'3", 228.
His combine numbers are stupid.
Yeah, he ran a 4.33, which for someone that tall is kind of ridiculous.
Just compare him to Andy Isabella, who just said was the fastest receiver, ran a 4.31. He's 5'9" and 188. This dude's 6'3", 228, and ran a 4.33. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I don't want to say, I don't know if I've heard this comp, but Megatron?
Yeah. I think physically that's a really good comparison.
Yeah, he also has a huge vertical. Now, he did fall in the draft. He went in the second round, 64th pick. Some people thought he was going to be a first rounder, but he kind of was. He had a bad, what they call the 3-cone drill, which is kind of like your agility and ability to cut. And so he kind of got knocked down on that. They said he's a little stiff, but he came out. Now, of course, Pete Carroll is going to talk his own player up, but he said he looks amazing already in minicamp. So I think it's an awesome move. Russell Wilson is one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. Obviously look at Tyler Lockett last year. So DK Metcalf is an interesting pick for them.
So some things that I think to watch out for him though, like, so he didn't have a ton of production in college. We talked about his teammate AJ Brown on the last episode because he went to Baltimore. He was really the bigger producer there, and Metcalf obviously got a ton of attention at the draft. Not only at the draft, but on social media, taking pictures of himself with his shirt off because the guy is a giant. But anyway, so to me, he does have some bust potential because I think of a guy like, and maybe it's because I'm a Bears fan and I remember Kevin White, but I think of a guy like Kevin White, or I think of a guy like John Ross, who really impressed at the draft, or I mean at the combine, but ended up being a bust. And I could see that being the case with Metcalf. But I do agree with you that. So he's really known. He's kind of a one-trick pony. He doesn't run a lot of routes. He kind of runs a 9 route, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
But he did kind of land in a good. He did land in a good spot for that because, like you said, Russell Wilson does have one of the better deep balls in the league. So, I mean, I could definitely see him being a red zone threat with his size and speed. I mean, he could easily, have 3 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown in a few different games. So
and he's also the kind of guy that a lot of people say that he might be a 2 to 3 year project kind of guy, but
could be.
a lot of people say that he, when it's all said and done, if you look back at this draft in 5 years or so, he may be the best receiver out of it. But it's hard to say. And another knock is Seattle has gone incredibly run heavy. So
True.
They're really good. Their main objective is to pound the ball and really establish the run. So it's tough to say what he's going to produce actually this year. But I tell you, I would love to have him on my dynasty team.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. His ceiling is he's got to have the highest ceiling of any receiver in this draft. And honestly, I'm not too worried about him going to Seattle and then being so run heavy because he's not going to be a volume guy anyway. And look at Lockett last year. Lockett, I mean, I don't know how many catches he had, but it wasn't that many. Like 60 something maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say 60 catches, and he scored what, 10
touchdowns, 12? I'm pretty sure, yeah.
10, yeah.
And I mean, I could see that happening to Metcalf in the next couple of years, and if they're run heavy, so what? But and then like you said, in maybe 3 to 4 years down the road, maybe he develops as a route runner, and if he does, then huge ceiling.
Yeah, and another thing is that Doug Baldwin is rumored to retire, so that could be
that's a possibility.
More targets for him.
Yep, for sure.
And the next guy is Jalen Hurd, and there's not a lot of info on here, but Jalen Hurd, he got drafted by San Francisco in the 3rd round, 67th pick. He played college at Tennessee. He actually played with Alvin Kamara. He was a running back at first. So when he started out, he's 6'4", so he's actually really big for a running back, or he was for a running back, but now he switched to receiver. So he's kind of an interesting guy that they could kind of move around the field and do different things with. You could see him doing some gadget stuff. So Jalen Hurd, and depending on how that wide receiver situation works out in San Francisco, obviously they've got a lot of weapons there with Kittle and Pettis and maybe Goodwin come back. Who knows? So it's tough to say, but he is a talented guy that could get some work.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. McLaren, Terry McLaurin, whatever. He's a wide receiver out of Ohio State that went to the Redskins. And to be honest, I knew that some people were excited about him pairing up with Dwayne Haskins again. I don't know if Dwayne Haskins is gonna. We talked about this a couple days ago. First round quarterbacks over the last 8 years or however long it's been. Almost all of them. It was all of them but one ended up starting at some point in time in their rookie year. So I assume Dwayne Haskins will start at some point this year. And I have heard several people. We talked about the receiver, the other receiver, Paris. What's his last name? Campbell, yeah. That went to Indianapolis. And I've actually heard a few different people say they like this guy better. He obviously went later, and I don't. I like Paris a lot more, but I don't know. Somebody to keep an eye on for sure. And if Haskins comes in and already has a relationship with him, maybe he's a guy that will get some targets.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the fact that he, was with Haskins is what makes him interesting. If he wasn't with Haskins, there wouldn't be much to talk about. Now, Washington's receiver situation is not great.
Their offense situation is probably not great.
Yeah, I mean, they Crowder went to the Jets, so he's gone. I guess they have Doxson is still there, and even the other guy, was it Harris? Was it Harris? He's gone too.
Yeah, they don't have a
no, I mean, they've got Jordan Reed, and that's pretty much all I know about. So it's hard to say. I mean, if he has chemistry with Haskins, and he may be the guy he relies on.
He might be. Yeah. We missed a guy. We missed a guy on our last episode. Miles Boykin.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? So
yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be on the AFC side. So, yeah, this guy's a big guy. He's 6'4", 220. He got picked third round by Baltimore, 93rd pick overall. Baltimore, I just don't expect a ton of. I mean, what do you think the over under on touchdowns for Lamar Jackson is? 20?
20, yeah, maybe low 20s.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Low 20? I would say 20 is that's maybe his ceiling.
Oh, maybe that could be our next cigar bet.
I might have to
take the over
because
on 20.
I would take the under on 20.
I don't know. I figure he'd probably go for 22, 23.
It's hard to say.
I don't know.
Man.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
He just didn't throw a ton. I mean, he probably averaged less than a touchdown a game, throwing touchdown a game last year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
obviously that's probably something they'll work on. Obviously, so maybe we'll do that. Maybe not. So yeah, I don't have too much to say about Miles Boykin. Who we got next?
Hakeem Butler went to Arizona. He was we talked about Andy Isabella already, but this guy's another receiver that we mentioned. They took more than one receiver, in the draft, and I like this guy quite a bit. I kind of thought he might go to. I kind of thought maybe this guy might go to like New England or something. He's big. He's 6'5", 227, and obviously somebody with that kind of size, you kind of think of him as being a red zone threat. So I could see this guy. To be honest with you, I don't like the fact that they drafted him because I own Christian Kirk in the Dynasty League, and it makes me a little bit nervous, to be honest. I actually kind of have pretty high hopes for him. He was picked in the 4th round, and I don't remember where Kirk went. Either the 2nd or the 3rd, I'm pretty sure, but still, he I think this guy's going to be a good player. Went to Iowa State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. He is a super talented guy, and in fact, I kind of expect him to go a little bit higher. Christian Kirk was a late 2nd round pick, so he was pretty. That's a pretty early pick for a receiver.
Yeah.
They have a lot of talent there now at wide receiver. Obviously, they're trying to build a team around Kyler Murray. So I mean, they took 3 receivers this year, and they also, and like I said, they still have Kirk and Fitzgerald. So that's kind of a crowded receiver core there. But Hakeem Butler could be a guy that could emerge in the next few years. I don't know about this year, but possibly going forward.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Seattle took another receiver as well, Gary Jennings, in the 4th round, pick 120. Don't know a ton about this guy. Is it?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
I guess, man. I guess Greg Jennings is probably like
Cousin
my
at
age,
least.
isn't he?
I don't know. I don't know how old he is. Probably. Yeah, probably.
I don't know. He's been retired for a few years, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know too much about this guy, but I mean,
I don't either.
Seattle obviously wide receiver was a weak point for them last year, so they're definitely trying to build some depth there.
Yeah, for sure.
Next guy's interesting.
Yeah, next time I'm excited about the next guy. I may or may not be a little biased. Riley Ridley went to Chicago in the 4th round. We'll talk about later. They took a running back. We'll talk about him later. So I'm pretty excited about. Obviously, the Bears were good last year. Their defense specifically was really good, and this year adding a few weapons to the offense, I'm pretty excited about. So this guy, he went in the 4th round. He had a pretty bad combine, but his college tape and everything. There was a lot of people that thought he should have went earlier, and then he fell just because of a bad combine. Which we talked a little bit about that with Calvin Ridley too. Kind of did the same thing, and obviously he came out and had a fantastic rookie year, and looks like he's going to have a solid career going forward. And I can just hope that Riley Ridley's similar.
Yeah, I don't know if we said that, but that's Calvin Ridley's his brother.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's. I think I've heard he's considered to be a little bit less talented, but yeah, it's certainly an interesting thing. I mean, tell me a little bit about Chicago's receiving corps, because we know they've got Robinson, and their number 2, I would assume, is Anthony Miller.
Yes. Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And then God, I can't remember the dude's name.
Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah, Gabriel. Yeah.
In the slot.
I don't expect a lot from Ridley this year, but Allen Robinson after this year can be cut for nothing. So it would not surprise me to see the Bears, keep Allen Robinson obviously this year. Hopefully, if he has a great year, then maybe they re-sign him or whatever. But if he doesn't, I could see them moving on from him and going Anthony Miller and Riley Ridley on the outside now. Both guys are really young, obviously, and yeah, I'd be pretty excited about that. My biggest question still for the Bears is Trubisky. I mean,
sure.
I just don't know if he's good or not.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does, and yeah, that's actually a good point about Robinson, because if you try to think of football like a general manager does, you've got to think of cap and cap space, and often that guy, and Allen Robinson's not old. He's actually really young. I think he's only like 25.
I'm pretty sure he's 25. Yeah.
Yeah.
He might be younger than that.
He might be. I mean, this was what, his 3rd year. He had a great rookie season. Sat out the 2nd year with an ACL, and then this was his 3rd year. So he's only going into his 4th year.
I kind of think somebody told me he was younger than. I think Calvin Ridley's older than him.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah. I think he got drafted.
Allen Robinson will turn 26 just before the season.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of a different receiver then. Do what?
You said he's younger. You think Calvin Ridley's older or Riley Ridley?
It was Calvin Ridley, and I may have been thinking of somebody else instead of
okay,
Allen Robinson. But I knew he was pretty young. He seems like he'd be older because he's been in the league forever now. But
he's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting thing there. I mean, obviously Chicago. I have super high hopes for them. I think they kind of outperformed what everybody thought they would last year. But they were just not consistent, really. So it's, they've really got to get, obviously Trubisky has to take a step forward. I feel like this is kind of a big year for him.
For sure.
A follow-up of rookie season, kind of your sophomore year, you're kind of expected to take a step forward, which he did. But he's really got to take a real step forward this year, or I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I agree. And not only was it just his 2nd year, but also, new system. So this is going to be the 2nd year with Nagy. And, I agree. He's got to take a step forward this year.
Yeah. Next guy, Darius Slayton. Don't know a ton about him. The Giants obviously made some moves, some unpopular moves, but they got rid of
Yeah.
Beckham. So Sterling
Yeah.
Shepard's their number one. And then I guess Golden Tate's their number two.
Yeah.
And, Evan Ingram's in the mix there too. And obviously Saquon Barkley had, 120 targets last year, so he's going to get targets too.
Yeah, for sure.
So Darius Slayton, I'm not too sure if he'll even get drafted in our expansion draft, but, he's a name to know.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody to keep an eye out, but
yeah,
I can't imagine drafting him, to be honest. Then again,
No.
I haven't really went through and ranked all the rookies, and so I don't know. I mean, maybe 36. If we do 30 or 3 rounds, or I guess that'd be 30 players. Well, anyway, hell, he might be one of the top 30. I don't know, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. Same thing with the next guy. I don't know a ton about him. Kelvin Harmon. He went to Washington, six rounder, 206 pick. I just don't know. He was pretty productive in college. I mean, he went to North Carolina State.
Good size.
He's
good
size, but he's kind of one of the guys that they say is kind of inconsistent, kind of like Amari Cooper a little bit. He'll kind of have a big game and then he'll kind of disappear. So, he had 81 catches for 7 touchdowns. That's pretty good. College.
Yeah. But he's similar guy, like I said, probably not getting drafted in our
no.
in the rookie draft.
Probably not.
Just maybe a name to know, but
so
keep an eye on.
Tell us about this next guy. I think this guy will probably get drafted in redraft.
We're moving on to running backs?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I would say the next 2 guys will be drafted in redraft for sure. Do you want to take the first one?
Yeah, I'll take the first one so you can take the second one. So The first one is Miles Sanders. He went to Philadelphia. So Philadelphia traded for Jordan Howard in the offseason. But nobody likes Jordan Howard. So Miles Sanders.
For some reason, I liked him.
Yeah, people just do not like him, which I'm sure he's real happy that they drafted this guy. But let's see, he's 5'11", 211 pounds. He's kind of rumored to be the guy already. I don't know, what that's based on. But they're saying that he's drafted to be, that a 3-down guy. I don't know that that's Philadelphia's style, to be honest with you. They've never really done that. So it's tough to say, but I do think this guy is definitely going to get some work this year. So he's probably going to be considered to be that number 1 guy there.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll see Jordan Howard also, but But I think Miles Sanders, I think he's a talented guy, and I think obviously that's where they would like to go with the future anyway. I mean, you don't take a running back in the second round and not use him, so
no.
So definitely
another interesting thing about this guy is he sat behind Saquon Barkley in college. So he didn't play a ton before Barkley left, but that's because Barkley was, one of the most talented running backs to come along in a long time. So,
yeah. Well, and there's a narrative, if you want to follow the narrative, that he's not going to play over Saquon. Then the 1 year he does get to play, he has a great year. So, I mean, there's a narrative there that he comes into the league and he's fantastic. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
You could make a case that every running back in the league would not play over Saquon. So,
sure.
I mean, this guy just saying he's not Saquon doesn't mean anything. I mean,
yeah, and the fact that he did enough in 1 year to be a second round pick kind of says a lot.
Yeah, for sure. The next guy, this is a guy that I'm super excited about. Again, maybe a little biased because he went to Chicago in the second round. And we kind of talked about, even before the draft, we talked about how this is who I want my first round pick to be. I want to own the Chicago Bears running back. I just do, and I'm a little sad after talking to Matt because I know how much he likes him and he picks before me. So I'm probably not getting him. But this guy, he didn't really do anything special in the draft. Not the draft, in the combine rather. He actually he does everything really well, but he doesn't do anything spectacular. So I mean, this guy is
Right.
he's a for sure a 3 down back. He can catch the ball really well, which is why they got rid of Jordan Howard last year anyway. But one thing that he does do pretty well is bounce off tackles. His We talked a little bit about these guys we follow, fantasy footballers, and they talk a lot about his center of gravity. It's excellent. He just doesn't go down. I expect him to get a ton of work in Chicago. I don't know how they'll use him with Tree Cohen, but I definitely expect David Montgomery to be like definitely the lead back there for sure.
Yeah,
he's definitely. I mean, he's definitely one of the top 3 rookie running backs. Would you agree with that?
Oh,
I could see an argument of taking Joshua Jacobs and Miles Sanders over him, but I can't really see an argument for taking any other running back over him. Can you?
No, and honestly, like you were saying, I do like Montgomery a lot, and I would love to draft him in the Dynasty draft. But to be fair, I don't think I'll have a chance to. I think that he will be a top 4 pick.
Yeah, he very well could be, and maybe should be.
Sure, I mean, because when you think about it, we all know that fantasy football running backs are just at a premium. They're tough to. There just aren't that many that are going to get the kind of work he's going to get. So, if he's taken before my pick, I totally understand.
Yeah, yep, that's fair.
So,
Bryce Love.
Yeah, so Bryce Love, he's a guy that, if he would have came out in last year's draft, he probably would have been a first rounder. He tore his ACL in the last game of the year, so that definitely hurt his value. He's also going to a team with a pretty crowded backfield. They've got Darius Guice, who is kind of an unknown, tore his ACL in the preseason last year, and they re-signed AP. So, there's a lot of people there that he's going to have to overcome. So I don't know. I don't think Bryce Love will have much of an impact at all, just because I don't even know if he'll be ready for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I don't know if he will either.
So
it's an odd pick because he's hurt. To me, for them to take a running back at all kind of speaks like to them maybe not having the most faith in the world that Darius Guice is going to be healthy. But if that's the case, I don't know why they took another guy that's hurt. So, super talented guy, but kind of a confusing pick.
Yeah, and if you look at last year, though, they had 2 or 3 running backs go down for the year.
Yeah.
So, having an extra guy there is maybe what they're thinking. So, but yeah, I don't think Bryce Love is an impact player this year.
Yeah, that's fair. And then the last running back we have to talk about is Elijah Holyfield. You may know the last name. He's Vander Holyfield's son. And the only thing I've actually ever heard about him, I didn't watch any film of him. I've never watched like YouTube clips or anything. The only thing I've actually heard, and I don't know if they were making a joke, but it didn't sound like it. But they said he has a nasty stiff arm, and he must have got that from his dad. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a joke or not, but that's really the only thing I know about him.
I hope he does, because if he does, that's going to be on SportsCenter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't know that much about him either, but the thing is, I think he was an undrafted free agent, so he wasn't actually drafted. But the interesting thing is that he goes to a situation where he very well could play, because now Christian McCaffrey, he was like,
he went to Carolina. We should mention that.
Oh yeah. So Christian McCaffrey obviously is the guy there, and he's been pretty durable. So if he doesn't get hurt, I mean, I don't know that Holyfield plays a whole lot, but after McCaffrey, there's really nobody.
That's true.
I think Cameron Artis-Payne is the next guy up. So there's not a ton of competition in that backfield if McCaffrey did get hurt. So that's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, I hope McCaffrey does not get hurt because I have him in Dynasty. So,
Right.
But you just never know. I mean, it's the NFL, and people get hurt all the time.
That's fair.
So we're going to switch over to tight ends. This is one of the most interesting guys in the draft, in my opinion. Went super high, 8th pick overall. Not a lot of tight ends get picked in the top 10. But T.J. Hawkinson went to Detroit with the 8th pick. Another Iowa tight end. So that's 3 Iowa tight ends in the last 2 years that are pretty studly. So actually 3 years, sorry. Kittle was 2 years ago. But he went to Detroit. He's a big guy. So this guy is considered to be not only an awesome blocker, but he's considered to be a really great pass catcher as well. So he kind of does everything. So it's a great pick for Detroit. It helps their run game, but it also helps their pass game too. So,
yeah, I agree. Actually, we talked a little bit about how I would love to have David Montgomery in the first round, but I would love to have this guy in the first round of the rookie draft too. I think he's going to be a stud, and I think Detroit's a good landing spot for him actually.
Oh yeah, I agree. And actually, if Montgomery goes in the first 4 picks, I'm probably taking Hawkinson. So
I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't blame you, to be honest. The next tight end that went, and actually, to be honest, I like all of these tight ends. So I love Hawkinson. Irv Smith went next in the second. He went in the second round to Minnesota. Obviously, they have a tight end there that they've had for a while. I can't even think of his name right now. Kyle
Rudolph.
What's his name?
Yeah,
there you go, Rudolph.
He's crying right now.
He's what?
He's crying somewhere right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, so Irv Smith's not going to. He's probably not going to do a whole lot this year. They still got Rudolph there and everything, but I think Rudolph's in maybe the last year of his contract.
I think so too. And
sure
he's definitely going to be the replacement. And Irv Smith is supposed to be super talented. I think he played Alabama.
Yeah, he played at Alabama. Super athletic guy. I moved him around into the backfield, lined him up as a fullback. I mean, guys, just he can do it all. And I expect big things from, like I said, maybe not the first season, maybe not even. I would say if Rudolph's gone next year, though, he would. I think he could definitely put some production up next year, though.
Agree. The next guy went to a team that's not super tight end friendly. Jay Sternberger went to Green Bay, 3rd round, 75th pick. He's a guy that I don't know a ton about, but he kind of started to get a little bit of hype as we got closer to the draft. He was someone that I hadn't really heard of until the draft came around, and then people were talking about him. So he's a pass catching guy. He's not a big blocker, not a great blocker. So I don't know that he'll be an impact right away. They still have Jimmy Graham there, so he's probably a guy that's going to be a project type of guy.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody not going to put up production this first year, but definitely in the next 2 years or maybe 3 years at the most. I would say he's a guy whose name we'll know for sure. I like this guy. He was I can't remember where he played at first. But anyway, he went to a couple different colleges because a lot of college offenses just don't use a tight end, and so he kind of went around, and finally his last year in college had a really good year, and obviously was good enough to get drafted in the 3rd round. But I was hearing a lot of things before the draft about Green Bay looking for a tight end, maybe looking at Noah Fant or even Irv Smith. Obviously, they didn't get either of those guys, and so they land Sternberger. And I think he's going to have a good career. I would be happy to take him in the rookie draft if you end up taking Hawkinson and I get Sternberger later. I would be definitely okay with that because I think in a couple years he'll be good.
He's a guy that should get drafted in our dynasty league.
He will.
In Green Bay. And Green Bay is kind of an interesting thing because I was talking to you during the draft about how, every time they came up, I was like, all right, here goes Metcalf. Because I mean, everybody thought, they need wide receiver help. And they didn't. I don't think they drafted a wide receiver. So, the fact that they drafted this guy means, they could be part of the plan for them. They may just line him up in the slot. If he's not, if he's not ready to block, he might just line up in the slot just to be another guy out there.
Yeah. And I was hearing things like he's willing to draft or willing to block, and I don't know that he's a terrible blocker. That's just not what he's known for.
Right.
Which is not a bad thing for fantasy. You really want your guy going on as many routes as he can, right?
Yeah, sure. And a lot of tight ends, especially tight ends that can block, a lot of times they scheme him up to start blocking and then release and go out on a route. So the fact that if he is a blocker like Hawkinson's going to be out there every play. You know what I mean? And Sternberger probably won't because of that. So that's the only difference.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Hawkinson, though, that guy, he's got the chance to be special. He really has a chance to be the next Gronk, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know that he's quite that. Maybe quite that athletic as far as an offensive threat, but he definitely has the chance to be an elite tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm pretty excited about him.
Yep, I am too. I'm excited about this year. I can't wait for football. I can't wait for the draft.
Yeah,
it's just the best time of the year. Let's just be real.
It is, and this is kind of a tough period. So after the Super Bowl, you got that lull where there's really nothing going on until the draft. There's some free agency stuff here, but now between now and minicamp, which is in July, there's really not a whole lot going on in football.
I know.
So it's kind of like a really dead period. So it kind of sucks. I'm super excited to hear who they announce for Hard Knocks. If you guys don't know what Hard Knocks is, it's a show on HBO where they follow a team through camp, and it's awesome. It's an awesome look, like behind the scenes. Last year they did Cleveland.
That was a good one.
It was good. Like you just get to know those guys a little bit better on a personal. Gotta bless them. Yep. But like you get to kind of know their personalities a little bit more. It's really cool. I really, really like that show, so I'm looking forward to that announcement.
When do they announce that? Do you know?
No, I'm not 100% sure. There's rules to it. Like, if you make the playoffs, you don't have to do it. If you did it, like, in the last few seasons, you don't have to do it. There are certain, like, rules for teams that can and can't do it. So I don't know when they announce it, but I would imagine it's probably sometime in June.
Yeah.
Usually it's like in June. But I think there's only like 4 episodes because there's only 4 weeks of training camp.
Yeah, that's fair.
So between
we got a little bit of a lull till then, huh?
Yeah, so between now and our actual draft or redraft, we will probably try to do one more of these, like a pre-draft. A pre-draft thing, just to kind of talk about, rankings and who's kind of rising and falling as far as draft stock and stuff like that. So that's probably the next thing we're going to do. Well, Tyler, got anything else to add?
Nope, I think that covers it.
Okay, well, if you listen, thanks for listening. If you have any feedback or anything you want to tell us, please do. And like I said a couple other times, let Tyler or me know if you want to join us. We'd be happy to have you. So we will see you next time.
All right, thanks. See ya.
All right.